Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital.
Now before I begin, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on notifications. Every now and then, I have a conversation with a buyer that goes something like this. I'm so sorry to say this, but I would like to cancel out the loan on the property. I'm heartbroken because this is my dream parcel of land, but I just finished speaking with the utility companies and it's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars to get utilities to the property and I simply can't afford it. So as a primer to help you avoid getting into a situation like this, I wanted to create a video on the top 5 things you should know about bringing utilities to vacant land. Let me cover what may be the most obvious pointer first. Before you purchase land, check what public utilities are available. There are many parcels of vacant land that have utilities nearby, but this does not necessarily mean that those utilities are going to be useful to you as a purchaser. This is because nearby is a somewhat relative term, and a public water or sewer line that's a few blocks away in some circumstances might as well be miles away. So before you purchase land, do some basic research. Now, water and sewer systems are usually developed and administered by a county or city department or by a public utility agency or a company. So you'll want to call either the planning department or the public utility district to first check whether the area is even served by a public utility system, and if so, whether water and sewer lines front the property. It's very difficult to extend water and sewer, so if a main doesn't already front your property, you should expect that you will need to install a well and septic system. Electricity is more often provided by a private power company. To find that company, you can either call the Planning and Zoning Department, or you can search on Google Maps for the county name and then the word power. And once you have found the power company, you can give them a call and see if there are power lines on the road in front of the property. If not, you can ask them how far the nearest power lines are. Number 2, the cost to bring utilities to your property can vary depending on your location. Regardless, it is not going to be cheap. But the range can be between $10,000 to over $30,000, depending on whether public water and sewer is available and how far you are from the nearest power line. That's a fairly wide range in costs, and you may be wondering, how do I judge what I should expect to spend on my particular property? Well, you can do a little bit more research to get at least a high-level estimate prior to purchasing the property. Now, for power, the predominant cost will be to extend any power lines if necessary, and utility companies are going to charge you for every foot that they need to extend the lines. So while you're speaking with the utility company, if power lines do not already front your property, find out first if it's even possible to extend power out to your property, and if so, how far existing lines will need to be extended and how much the utility company is going to charge per foot. Now keep in mind that this is not going to be cheap. For example, in Valencia County, just outside of Albuquerque in New Mexico, you should expect to spend $20,000 for every half mile that power needs to be extended. As I just mentioned, public water and sewer is realistically only going to be available to you if mains already exist in the road fronting your property. But even if you do have access to public water and sewer, it is not, strictly speaking, free. This is because public utilities charge a fee to hook your property up to the water or sewer main. So you'll want to ask the utility provider what their hookup fee is. In addition, you are going to be responsible for installing the lateral lines that run from the main to wherever your building is situated on the property. If public water and sewer is not available, you will need to pay to install a well and septic system. And a well's cost has a wide variation depending on how deep you need to go to get water. You can ask a local well installer for a back-of-the-envelope estimate based on the average well depth they've seen in the area. You could also give the county or state environmental health department or agency that administers well permits a call to see if they can tell you what the average depth to water is. A septic system also has a wide range, although the average is closer to the lower end of the $3,000 to $20,000 range seen here. The cost varies based on the soil, so you'll want to get a perk test done, and then you can speak with an engineer to determine what kind of system you will need and how much it will cost. Number 3, even if public electricity is technically available, off-grid solar may be a better option. And this is because, as we just mentioned, it can be very expensive to extend power to the lot. So if the nearest power lines are a fair distance away, you may want to consider off-grid solar. In addition, if blackouts occur in your area on a regular basis, you may want to consider off-grid solar even if it is just a secondary system. But if you are thinking of using off-grid solar, you'll first want to check with the building department to see if this is allowed, and if so, whether they have rules and regulations on how to install and design the system. You'll also want to do an analysis on how much power you expect you will need and how efficient solar panels will be in your area. So this involves looking at how many sunny days you get, whether there are trees that are going to be shading your panels, and what orientation you'll be able to place them in. So you determine how much output you will get in practice per panel. Then you can determine how many panels you will need and whether you have enough space to install the number of panels you will need to power your house. Number 4, if you do find that you need a well, be sure to test the water before drinking it. At a bare minimum, you'll want to check for total coliform bacteria, nitrates, total dissolved solids, and pH levels. But you may want to do more extensive testing as well to check for all kinds of heavy metals and chemical contaminants. This way, you can be sure that you install the appropriate filtration system needed to give you and your family clean water. Also keep in mind that the CDC recommends that you test your well water at a minimum every year. Number 5, if you do need a septic system, keep in mind that it requires space. So prior to purchasing the property, check with the local building department and Department of Environmental Health, or the department that administers septic permits, to see if there are minimum lot size requirements. For example, in some counties that we've worked in, we've found that the Environmental Health Department requires a minimum of 2 acres if you need to install both a well and septic system. And in these counties, we've often found 1-acre properties for sale that do not have access to public water and sewer. While technically allowed under zoning regulations, they will not be buildable because you cannot pull a septic permit. You'll also want to check for setback requirements between the septic system and wells, water bodies, and building. Many jurisdictions require a 100-foot setback between any well, including both yours or your neighbor's, and any water body such as a stream. This is important to keep in mind because if you are buying a smaller parcel of land, you may find that the setbacks make it infeasible to realistically build on the property. And this is because you cannot build on the area covered by the septic system. So if you need to install septic, be sure to understand what the requirements are and perhaps consult with an engineer to make sure that you have sufficient space to install your septic system, your well, and your home. So this gave you a brief overview of the top items you should consider when bringing utilities to vacant land. Bringing utilities to a property is a long process that requires a lot of time, effort, research, and money. So it would be a good idea to consult with an engineer prior to purchasing a property or beginning the process of construction. But having said all this, it can certainly be worth it if it transforms your parcel of land into your dream home. Do you have any stories about bringing utilities to vacant land? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, you're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down properties at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.